This episode of Casual Friday is brought to you by Loot Crate.
They decided to cut this out of it.
Well, that's for protection. The female
it's
breast
to
is
distract
bulletproof.
the enemy.
So on the exact opposite side of that, I mean, you just reviewed Beyond.
I just reviewed Beyond.
That is a good-looking game.
Probably one of the best looking games I've ever played, if not the. I mean, anything that came out a couple years ago or before that is pretty much not in the running for that. But they did the full body performance capture, and I know it seems like you're not
Not a
huge
fan. I'm not a fan of mocap or any sort of like.
But
Is
why?
that because it's like you're not animating?
Kind of.
It's like rotoscoping.
Well, okay. So you and I are. I used to be an animator. You're a big animation fan.
love
so
animation.
I'm going to drop a name right now. Richard Williams. So when Richard Williams was animating Roger Rabbit, because he was animating a movie like that on 24 frames, he was animating on ones, which is a frame every second, and that's why Roger Rabbit's ears don't really look like Bugs Bunny because Warner Brothers stuff is typically on twos. So it's one frame one drawing every 2 frames. So everything is moving unnaturally because he's animating on ones. The problem I have with mocap is everything is moving unnaturally because the body's in movement. You see them differently than a computer does. And so everything that's mocapped, if you see really good mocap, odds are an animator took frames out because it's processing everything.
So what's an example of something that is good mocap?
I would say Gollum is
Okay, you're still talking about.
But I also had a friend who was working at Weta when they were making Lord of the Rings, and they said they threw out a whole bunch of mocap to actually animate it traditionally because it just looked weird. As far as games are concerned, there is some mocap where it doesn't look right. It doesn't have the same weight and feel that typical animation
But that's
does.
part of, I think, the problem that when you're getting that close to reality, as people who inhabit said reality, you can kind of check it against your own experience.
Yeah, I'll say this much. When I was playing Beyond and I was capturing it on my computer, I had the brightness down, and when I was looking at my computer, I could not tell the difference between the game and real life.
I mean, I had that issue where I thought you were actually looking at video of people
and
doing stuff.
it's not just that it looks good, it's that because they do the whole body performance capture, all the movements are super realistic. Like, they clearly put a lot of stuff. I talked in my review about the walking animation, because when you walk from point A to point B, your character does sort of like random things the whole time.
Right.
And it's like if you start walking that way and then quickly turn around this way, it's not just like they sort of flip and
around.
start walking.
They do a body,
it's like she'll hesitate for a little bit and then be like, and then start walking back. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I found, because obviously with like, say, Last of Us, which is probably another example of a lot of performance capture that was trying to really push the boundaries of realistic. The body motions don't throw me off. It's what can happen in the faces.
The faces are the weirdest part, and I had very little issue with that in Beyond. There were a couple points where it was like, maybe her skin looked a little too glistening or something like that. But for the most part, like the title screen, or not the title screen, I guess the title screen of the game, when you have it on, is Ellen Page's face and like her hair blowing in the wind. And it looks so realistic and good. It looks
The
like
inconsistency of the pallor of her skin, like a normal person.
Exactly.
It's not really the skin that gets me. It's what everyone always says. It's the eyes.
The eyes.
The eyes, they can't capture eyes yet. They're just dead.
Yeah.
I mean, there are subtle movements that they can animate, but just even if you go back to something like the Final Fantasy movie, remember when that came out? And that was the first really super photorealistic computer animated movie.
It was so realistic. It was as boring as
it was as boring as
you
a Final
can do
Fantasy
whatever
game.
you want, so let's do that.
But it's still, there's just these dead eyes of these characters, and I feel like a game like Beyond Two Souls or even Heavy Rain kind of hurt me in the sense I couldn't enjoy it because I couldn't get past the eyes. Well, and that happened with me as well in Walking Dead. Everyone loved the story, but the character performance, the actual physical
Yeah.
movements and movements of the character, I could not get absorbed into the story because it just sucked me out of it.
Yeah, I mean,
But
The
that's
Walking
only-
Dead had it had a completely different art style, so I think it was a little more forgiving and stuff like that.
Right.
I didn't notice any weird eye stuff, and like I'm like you, that's usually the first thing I notice about like animations. But I mean, the eyeballs are a different story, but like the actual eyelids and stuff, like were really
Yeah.
expressive.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these muscles right here, just in the corner of the eye, like, are
Yeah.
so telling on an actor's face because
Yeah.
you can just such slight, subtle shifts can
Oh,
go
yeah.
from
Yeah.
pleasure to frustration to anger.
And I think about this in real life sometimes, how I'm like, okay, that person is standing 30 feet away from me and wearing sunglasses, but I can tell when they're looking at me.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you don't even realize how perceptive you are when it comes
Yeah.
to just the most minute things like that.
And I think that's what makes it interesting that, with Beyond coming out, one of the more recent releases was the HD remake of Wind Waker, which, makes no attempts at verisimilitude
Yeah.
whatsoever. But because of the simple geometry and, it doesn't go for really heavy textures, at least on the characters, it is actually so expressive.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why it's such one of my most favorite Zelda games out there, is that you can actually, I think there's a mode in coming out of Link when usually he's just kind of a boring child in a bad
Yeah.
hat. And yeah, I said it.
Yeah.
I said it.
Uh-oh. Oh, they're going to be...
Oh, you offended me, sir. he is a hero for the ages.
I want adult Link. Adult Link, who has a best friend as a fairy.
I don't want Ganondorf as a pig man. I want him as a warrior. That's what I request.
Oh,
Ugh.
it's
Nintendo.
Fun to articulate the internet.
I wish David Cage would do that. So, do you want to support Casual Friday and get something cool delivered to your home every month? Then you have to check out Loot Crate. Loot Crate is a subscription box service for geeks and gamers that delivers epic swag to your door for less than $20 a month. In this box, we got stuff like a Ren and Stimpy doll, a Teenage Mutant Ninja figurine, a Futurama keychain, and more. Next month, we'll have a special zombie theme box, so make sure you sign up today. You can sign up and support Casual Friday by going to lootcrate.com/casual, and you can even get 10% off your order by entering the code REV3 at checkout.